Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the Governing Board Workshop, and we also will have a special meeting after this. And this is Friday, January 14th, 2022, our first workshop of the new year. So let's begin with, if you're able to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and we do have a quorum with all of our governing board members in attendance today. The first item of business is the approval of the workshop minutes from November 12th of 2021. We didn't have a meeting in December, so are there any changes, corrections that need to be made from those minutes? Okay, hearing none, they will stand as written. Then we'll go on to new policy. Or new issues here on our agenda. And just as a clarification, because this is a workshop, we do not vote on items. That's the reason for the special meeting that will happen after this, because there were two items that needed attention and we couldn't wait until the last end of the month in order to take care of them. So those two issues will be discussed and then followed by a vote. But the things that we're talking about now will be determining whether or not we recommend them to be for the vote at the end of the month. So the first one is policy G01, which is golf. So I'll turn that over to Harry.
Yes, the first item is on the refunds on golf cards, and we've changed in 3.0 upgrade to take any balance due will be payable out, and a new card shall be purchased with a new termination date. So if you go in to change your card, they'll figure out how much you're owed, and then that'll be applied to the cost of the new card if you're getting one. And the new card will just be the full up card from that day forward.
Questions? Discussion from the board? Any concerns from the audience? Okay, Harry, you have the next item as well, GO2.
In this one, it was always had said the high school teams, and we're adding college teams into the mix. They have to follow all the same rules if they want to come and practice golf, and Pat takes care of that.
Questions? Comments?
Yeah, how much play do we get from high school and college teams?
I'd direct that to Pat.
Good morning, all. We host Valley Vista High School, and they play in the fall. Usually it's from August through October, and right now they're tied into Stardust and Pebblebrook. Usually about 10 players on the team come out at 3:30 in the afternoon. We've been doing this 4 or 5 years, and the only other activity we have is with Ottawa University. Don't let them play, but we do let them use the facility to practice, and they pay for their balls.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other discussion or questions? Sharon?
Since Pat just mentioned universities, should it say colleges and universities? Just a point of question.
It is Ottawa University. We do have some interest with some other colleges, junior colleges. We have an extended privileges to them, so I'm good either way.
Another option sometimes is to say post-secondary.
I just wanted to cover all of them instead of just colleges, in case someone came back and said they're different.
So what do you think, Harry?
I think this pretty well covers it.
You're good with colleges?
Yeah.
Okay, how about the rest of the board? Ann?
I think post-secondary is a little bit broader. Makes it, we don't have to do any more definition than that.
Lisa?
I agree with Ann.
What the rest of you?
I don't think it matters. I think if you can't relate universities and post-secondary to college, then I think I don't think it's necessary to change what he's done, what the work committee's done. Would be my take, but it doesn't matter to me.
It's a matter of semantics.
Yeah.
Anybody from the audience want to weigh in on this? Come on up to the microphone. Your rec number and your name, please.
14087, Bill Weaver. I just have a question about the word. It says general manager. Is Pat the general manager? Is Bill Schwinn the general manager? It wasn't clear to me.
Bill Schwind is the general manager.
Yes, so is he going to approve this, or is Pat going to, it's just a wording type thing. I just wonder if it's the wrong word.
Pat?
So in the past with Valley Vista and both with Ottawa, the sitting general manager, I brought this to the general manager, also brought it to the golf committee as well to get their thoughts on it. And that's how it started and then went to completion.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, what is the recommendation of the committee here? We want to stick with colleges? We want to change it? Let's go around to each of you. What do you think, Harry?
I think it's semantics and just leave it as it is, otherwise we're gonna go through the whole process again.
Sharon?
Leave it as it is.
Leave it as it is.
Leave it as it is.
Yeah, good, leave it as it is.
Leave it as it is.
Leave it.
Leave it. Okay. It is our recommendation then that we take, excuse me, both of these golf policies to the end of the month meeting for a vote. Do we have a consensus on that? I probably should have
Yes.
asked that separately, but,
Yes.
okay. All right, then both of those items will go ahead as written to our meeting at the end of the month. Okay, the next policy that we're approaching here is CO3, and this one relates directly to BNF, so Ann.
Thank you, President Sue. This is to add to Section 1.2, which refers to the Budget and Finance Committee. It is a charge of what we will do, and we are adding Section 1.2.5, which reads, "This committee shall review and accept the annual audited financial statements of the association for governing board approval." And I will add that this is something that we have been doing every year. This just puts it as one of the items that we definitely will do.
Okay.
So if there are any questions?
Questions from the board? Questions from the board? No more? Okay. From the audience? Just as an aside, each of our committees have policies that are identified, and we review them every year. And that's why you see a whole list of them being reviewed at this particular meeting, because we ask those committees to come forth with any changes by about the January meeting. And it's a matter of looking at whether or not the listing is outdated or we had to add something. And in this case, we're suggesting an addition for something the committee has been doing. So that's why you see all of the policy kinds of things. And this particular policy covers a number of different committees, not just the BNF, but the one that we're addressing here is just BNF. So do I have consensus to move this forward?
Yes.
Okay, we will vote on this then at the meeting at the end of the month. And did I ask for audience comments? I don't know if I did that already or not on this. None? Okay. All right, the next one is also on 03, but this one relates to charter clubs. So, Donna.
Thank you, Madam President. And this is in reference to 1.3.3, and this is addressing the RR&Ps so that they will be addressed to, the recommendations will be presented to the General Manager and Governing Board annually. And this was a request from the board and also staff, so that those recommendations will be annually to the General Manager and Governing Board.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions, discussion among the board? Ann?
Does this mean that if there is a suggested change to the RR&Ps mid-year, it has to wait until you're ready to bring a lot of them forward, or?
I think if it's something that needs to be addressed immediately, we will address it immediately.
Okay,
But they just would like for us to have a group of recommendations instead of at every meeting bringing up something.
okay, but there is still the option to do
Yes,
something we need.
we can still do it.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Questions from the audience? Okay, are we in, do we have consensus to take this to the end of the month to vote on it?
Yes.
Okay, so we will take care of that one. All right, the next one is policy FI02, and this is coming from BNF. Ann?
Yes, excuse me. This policy concerns the capital expenditures budgeting, and this came to fruition because of, in the past, we have had pledges from clubs to help fund capital budgeting, and we did not have formal agreements with them. Therefore, we felt like we needed to kind of firm up that. So we have taken section 5.4 and amended it to read, if the governing board approves a capital request item whereby a chartered club has offered to provide financial support for the expenditure as shown by the general manager's source of project funds filed under subsection 5.2, the chartered club will provide the funding to the association prior to the issuance of a purchase order for the item. The funds will be returned to the club if the project is canceled. In doing that, we moved the current 5.4 down to make it 5.5, which was just a grammatical change. So what this says in effect is if a club gets approved, before anything can happen, the funds that they are pledging must be given to the association, and if the project does not happen, those funds will be returned to the club.
Okay, discussion, comments from the board? No comments? Tim, were you trying to say something? I'm just getting ready. Oh. Okay, Harry?
Does that mean like if a club said that they were put in $100,000 and they only had 50, they've got to go get the 50 before they can go forward?
Harry, we have not looked at that, but we are not going to be doing anything in the future that's going to have, that I can foresee from the way we've discussed this, that will have a payment schedule, because clubs no longer have the ability to go out and raise the funds if they are 503c7s. But that's our understanding, is that's all going to have to be pledged.
I guess my question would be is, I understand the 501c7 and we can't go out and raise funds, but what would happen if a club says, let's raise our dues $20 a member, and we will pledge $20 a member per year until the note's paid off.
Harry, I can't speak for what might happen in the future. I think that would be a board discussion at that time. But for right now, we're asking that the funds be put up front.
Other comments? Questions? Okay, audience questions? Okay, are we in consensus that we should move this to a vote for the end of the month?
Yes.
Okay, we will move that one on. Then we have some general policy issues that are not covered by a committee. There are, three of them? I believe there are Ls and Ms and Cs, I think, are not necessarily covered by a particular committee. So these have come through our director, Tim Hurley. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We reviewed policy L3, effective utilization of legal services. This policy was written back in 2008 when most of the records that we kept were physical written records, and it needs to be updated to include references to electronic versions of that data. So the corrections that are the changes that I'm suggesting is under 2.0, where it says his own volition, to add his or her, which will make it consistent with references to his and her and later in the document. And then under 3.0, documentation of legal advice, a written legal advice, either physical or electronic, add that to include the electronic items. And then 3.2, again, referring to electronic versions of the above shall be securely retained. And then 3.2.1.1, the office manager will make reasonable efforts to make physical and/or electronic records available for review pursuant to this policy. That's it.
Okay, discussion, questions? Roberta?
My only issue with 2.0 is the use of gender-specific pronouns. Went out in the 70s. I'm suggesting it be changed to the board president's '(s) own volition instead of putting in his or her.
Okay. What do the rest of you think? No. Okay?
That's fine.
You good with that, Tim?
Sure.
Okay, you want to make that change on the document there?
So does that mean other references to his and her in this document should be changed also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that would keep it consistent. And then we probably have
I think there's four of them.
four of them?
I believe so.
Okay. Do we have other documents that might have the same issue?
I'm sure we do.
We might need to do some work on that. Good point. Okay. Other questions, concerns on the other pieces, the other parts? Nothing? Okay, anything from the audience? Okay, are we good with that one change to recommend this to go to a vote at the end of the month? Oh, okay, Lisa?
Under 3.2.1.1, the office manager will make reasonable efforts to make physical and/or electronic records available for review pursuant to this policy. Are we leaving that just open as far as, how long to give them a time frame as far as how long they can take to make the records available?
Sometimes that's a detail that goes into procedures. But, Tim?
This echoes the verbiage in the Title 33 document about retaining or having records available for review. So that's where I took it.
Okay, so the verbiage has come from that.
Right.
33 that we are required to follow because we're an HOA. Other questions? Okay, so we're good with that one change, or the 4 changes, I guess, that it will be with the his/her issue, and going ahead and voting on this.
Can I, in the back, can I throw out one thing?
Sure.
Katie, in
Wait
the
a
back.
Where's that coming from?
We no longer technically have the title office manager. Can I propose that be changed to the GM's office?
I think that would be a good idea. How about the rest of you? Yeah, there's a different definition or a different title. Every time we change the title, that that ends up occurring. But good catch. Okay, we're okay with that? Okay. Tim, if you want to make sure you've got those, all those corrections for us, then we'd be good with this to vote on it.
I'll forward it to Karen.
Thank you. Okay, then we have a bylaw issue, and of course, this follows a different requirement in terms of the posting for a period of time, et cetera. But Tim, you want to talk us through that one too?
Me?
Yeah, I think your name is Tim Hurley. This is the one that came through chartered clubs, but because it was a bylaw change, we were asking you to take care of this one. If not, Donna could probably back you up.
I was not involved with this, but it's pretty simple. It basically says instead of handing out physical copies to the chartered clubs as far as their bylaws and RR&Ps go, that they will be available online at suncityWestClubs.com. It's just
Right, because it's outdated. Technology has moved us in a different direction.
all of these documents are on the club website, or the Sun City West, the Charter Club website, I should say.
And because this is a bylaw, help me out back here at the back table, we have to post this. Is that before we vote on it? Okay. Okay, so therefore, this will not be an option for us to vote on at the end of the month. It'll be the following month that we would vote on. Yes. Okay, all right. So then, do I have consensus to do that?
Yes.
With the changes? Okay. Great. All right. That kind of ends our, comment, come on up. I forgot.
124 update, Bill. I'm just wondering, always going to be online at this point? Is there any language anywhere that specifies how soon things will be posted online? Will they always be current? I mean, current?
Well, that would be the advantage of having it online, is that all of the current changes will be there. Otherwise, you're running, you're making a hard copy, and you make one change, and then it's outdated. And I would assume in this case, we're talking about chartered clubs and the RR&Ps, that clubs would receive notification that, there has been a change, for example, and that they should check online.
Okay, I'm just
Yes.
wondering if there is, if they would, how quickly they would be posted, if that's
Well,
going to be the
I
document.
would think as soon as it's approved by the board, it gets changed, correct?
Okay.
Casey? Yeah. Okay, yeah, within a day or so. Yeah, right. That's pretty fast. Okay. All right. Let's move on to a little bit of a brief update, Bill, on our master plan and the survey and all that good stuff.
Thank you very much. As you well know, we are embarking on a master plan update for the association. We have been contracting with an outside consultant called Epic Strategies, and they are currently working on a marketing plan, doing some survey analysis that's currently out there that concludes on January 19th. They're doing a bunch of research on comparable data, looking at other communities, retirement communities around the nation and Arizona, as far as what's new and what's approaching. And they're also studying millennials' behavior and what's it requiring, or what are they looking for in the future as far as moving into developments such as ours. The water conservation mandates that are up ahead of us will all be inclusive in this particular master plan thing, because that is probably one of the largest impacts that we're going to have, both financially and strategically, as moving forward, is to be in compliance with all water conservation mandates from the state of Arizona. Focus group information is scheduled to take place in a series of meetings scheduled for February 1st. In addition to that, all of our 5-year plan, financial analysis, and all of our reserve study information will be included in this update that we hope to have concluded in mid-March at a workshop session similar to this, with our consultants putting together a final report for us to kind of help look into the future, to kind of help us shape a little direction as to where we're going. So that pretty much sums it up. If you have any questions at all, feel free to email me or call or come by anytime.
Okay, any questions of the board? Roberta?
The only thing I didn't like about the survey was there was nothing at the end of it that said, do you have any other issues that concerned you or you want it taken up to be part of the master plan? It was just, because I know somebody online or on board docs or wherever put in that, they couldn't get information on their particular area that they wanted. Mm-hmm. And if they had a general question at the end, is there anything else, which most surveys have, then that would have been taken care of there.
Hopefully people will come forth with some of those things at the focus groups in February. But I guess residents should feel free to send those in to the board or to the general manager, and we'll put them in the pile with the rest of the ideas.
Yeah, and please understand that those kinds of comments happen every day. And we receive through our owner member comment forms, just a host of suggestions and comments seemingly every day, and those are all recorded that will be shared with our survey team moving forward. But we do capitalize and review each and every of those complaints that we get every day.
Okay, any other questions? Audience? Okay, that's just a brief update. And then go and update us on the latest COVID. We had hoped that we were not going to have this on the agenda every meeting that we have, but it seems like it hasn't left us yet. So, Bill, kind of tell us about the latest.
Yes, ma'am. There's a little bit of a visual aid here, so I'm going to get out of the way so I can kind of see it to remind myself what we're talking about. Things change seemingly constantly around here. Just a reminder, all staff indoor are wearing masks for all the right reasons. As you may or may not know, I live with a woman working in the hospital here whose job title is Infection Control Manager. And I tease her every day that you're doing a great job with the pandemic, Chris. But that's really not her role. But, if people do have surgeries and whatnot, the goal of Banner is not to have those folks come back. And so she focuses on that. But since this is a televised meeting and I am indoors, and if I do not have a mask on, I don't get dinner. So moving forward, Omicron, as you well know, is a very contagious and maybe not so detrimental to what we were dealing with the initial onslaught of the virus and then the Delta trend and all of that as far as that goes. But, early on, this was seemingly focusing on folks 65 and over. Those with ailments and those types of things were really kind of the focus point of this. As this has evolved now over the last 3 years with vaccines and boosters and everything else going on, I think the medical field is doing everything they can to kind of keep this under control. But as you well know, it's running wild. There's a lot of people obviously not wearing masks, which kind of helps go a long way in the prevention of this thing and the social distancing and the hand sanitizing and and that type of thing. So just be very, very cognizant of that. Go ahead, roll, Katie. OSHA attempted to come out with some COVID-19 emergency temporary standards as far as that goes. You know, beginning January 10th, this thing was supposed to kind of roll out with, hey, please provide us, if you're an employer of over 100 people, we want to make sure that hopefully your employees are vaccinated, and if not, wear a mask, and if not, you're going to have to get tested on a weekly basis. This was put together a week ago, 5 days ago. As you well know now, the Supreme Court ruled against this, so we are back to where we are and where we were, and it's really trying to officiate a game without a rule book. So we're just trying to do as best we can with what we know, following the sciences and that type of thing. Some other things locally, I mean, we do communicate with other GMs relative to other retirement communities in our neighborhood. Sun City Grand, for instance, went back just, I think the other day, Pat, I don't know, within the last week, mandating that individual carts are taken out on golf courses now as opposed to having 2 people ride. That has all kinds of implications when it comes to Todd's World and maintaining turf and that type of thing, but so does personal responsibility. And so that's kind of the route and the avenue that we are taking. You know, if you're vaccinated and feel comfortable, you know, please play, get outdoors and enjoy yourself. Obviously, that's a good thing. Being indoors is another story, especially in the wintertime. And I think some of these slides here will kind of show where we're at. This is a CDC slide we picked up, basically as far as excess death percentages from last year to this year. Unfortunately, the state of Arizona leads that list. And so just to kind of share some information with you regarding that as far as that goes. And you know, we've had, since this onset, we've had a series of surges. And so this is a little bit of a photograph of the state of Arizona, Maricopa County in particular, on how this Omnicare thing is just kind of running rampant at this point in time. I think the last I heard, there was 78 ICU beds available in the state of Arizona. So if anybody were to need one, be a car accident, heart attack, something along those lines, those numbers are pretty small. And really, from the get-go, when the local health agencies came to us, explained to us this pandemic 3 years ago, the real issue was safety, right? For age folks and folks that have some potential disorders, whether it's breathing or otherwise. The mask program and the social distancing and the hand sanitizing basically was an attempt to keep our hospitals open and not jam-packed. It then got politicized, right? Right or wrong, it is what it is. But really the bottom line, if you continue to want to peel back the onions, is safety and really caring for others, right? And so that's what we're doing. We implemented the policy with staff because A, we need bodies at work. We are not a work from home environment. We need people to mow grass. We need people to staff buildings. We need people to clean our rec centers, and you cannot do that from home. So we want to make sure our staff remains safe. We want to maintain that you as users stay as safe as you can. We just do not have the ability or the authority via the state government to mandate that you wear a mask when you come inside. And so it is what it is. There's personal responsibility involved, but there are people that work with frontline folks that we have dealt with over the last couple of years. I think, Maria, what's our numbers, like 80 or 90? That we have had to replace temporarily due to this infection as far as that goes. So it's just an operational thing for us, and there we move. This is, again, just a little highlight of the last couple of years as far as how these surges go, and we're just back in the middle of another one. So it's wintertime, and we hope that everything goes well. And for the sake of others, and for the sake of my wife, I would ask, wear a mask. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Questions from the board? Comments? No? Okay, audience. Come over and give your rec card number and your name. No, come down to the microphone on the floor, because there's a sign-in sheet there. Sign in too? Well, you can talk first.
Okay.
Your number and your name.
Lou Hennessy, 121042. I have 3 questions. First question is, are the bartenders at Lizard Lounge employees of Sun City West Rec Center?
Yes,
They are.
they are
Okay.
employees, yes.
Number 2, Lisa, do you head up a committee that oversees the Lizard Lounge?
Well, I chair the Sports Pavilion Committee, but Barry Hardesty is in charge. He manages the Sports Pavilion.
Because I was going to get a hold of you before this, so I didn't bring it up in the general meeting, but I don't think this is a bad idea. Number 3 is, they're not wearing masks. I'm there twice a week. Nobody wears them. They tell jokes at the bar. They laugh. They cough into their hands. About a month ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, the word spread around within the lounge that one of the bartenders did contract COVID and was employed at that time. Can anyone confirm that?
We're not able to reveal.
I'm not asking
name
you to
because of
reveal,
HIPAA.
but was there a case?
I can't.
Okay, Bill doesn't know already. Well, then I'd like to finish by saying that I would appreciate it if someone would talk to those bartenders and tell them they should be masked up because they're dealing with everybody. They're dealing with everybody's glass, with everybody's bottles. They're being observed coughing into their hands. I have a dear friend who is actually on an immune suppressant. She has already been told that if she were to contract it, that it will probably take her out because she's on the suppressant. And so I do it, I'm fully vaccinated, boosted. I do it for the safety of other people, not myself. And so I would appreciate it if someone could talk to them. Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. Sign the paper, Lou, sign the paper. Go ahead, Bill.
Bill Weaver, 124087. I'm probably one of the naysayers. There was a report yesterday in the United Kingdom. From August through December of last year, there were 15,000 deaths. Out of that, 3,000 were unvaccinated, and the other 12,000 were vaccinated. So vaccination does not prevent the spread, that's clear. Also, as far as vaccinations go, anyone who's vulnerable should get vaccinated. There's nothing anyone else can do to protect me. I protect myself. You all have to protect yourself. It's going to spread, so protect yourself. My vaccination is not going to protect you. Your vaccination is not going to protect me.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, this item was informational. That concludes our business. And so now it's time for director comments. Let's just go around here. And Harry, you have any comments? Sharon? No comment. Jim?
No comment.
No comment.
No comment.
I do have a comment. I'm just reviewing policy L12, records for members' review. And there is no, as Mr. Weaver stated, there is no time period at which after a change is made that the electronic versions are updated. So I'd like to talk to staff and ask them what a reasonable amount of time to change that would be and submit a change to L12 next meeting.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Roberta?
No comment.
I have 2 comments. I want to encourage people to tune in to the general manager's mid-year report, which will be on the 20th at 9 in the morning. And you can view that at that time or at any other time to kind of get his report on the status of the association at this point. And also I want to announce that there are 5 candidates that are going to be running for the positions, the director positions for next year. We'll be choosing 4. The community will choose 4 of those, 5 people. We had some people that withdrew of the original 8. So be watching for the videos from each of them. Katie, are they up yet for viewing?
We'll have our webpage launch. It'll have the resumes and the videos, and it will be at suncitywest.com/2022 election. So look for sure by mid next week.
Okay.
And we'll announce that in the e-news.
Okay, sounds good. Anything else for the good of the order? Comments from the audience? Okay, I will adjourn the meeting, and our next meeting will be January 27th in the lecture hall, and our next workshop is February 11th, also here. And let's give ourselves, do we need a break? Okay. All right, we'll have a 5-minute break, and then we will start the special meeting. call to order the special meeting of Friday, January 14th, 2022. And we have a quorum with all of our directors present. And we have only two issues that we can discuss or talk about at this meeting, as identified. And the first thing is a facts and findings. And Carl is going to take us through this issue. Do we want parliamentarian? Do we need a motion before we discuss? Okay. So I will entertain a motion. And I believe that's Roberta. We need a motion and a second, and then we can conduct the discussion before we do a vote. So we get the proper procedure. Roberta.
I move that the governing board approve the facts and findings request for additional funds from the savings obtained in the capital improvement accounts in the amount of $107,828 to secure the agreement with the general contractor, material availability, and cost of materials.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Tim. Okay, discussion, and Carl, will turn to you to give us the background.
Good morning, and thanks for having me here this morning. After a season of work, we have come to the timeline that it was due to go out to bid for the Environmental Services Offices, which was an approved project for this FY 21-22 budget. We went out to bid with approximately 5 vendors, and 2 responded with bids that were significantly over what we budgeted, and 2 did not respond, except for with letters, and 1 did not respond at all. So our issue here is the Environmental Services Maintenance Offices in an approved capital improvement project in the FY 21-22 budget. Several qualified bids were received on December 21st, 21, and the lowest of the qualified bids requires an additional $107,828 in funding. Recently completed capital improvement projects within the 21-22 budget have provided adequate savings for us to utilize those funds to offset the overage on this project. The background on this project is the proposed Environmental Services Office was approved during the series of budget presentations and discussions and multiple walkthroughs by the committees and governing board directors and staff. These on-site inspections confirm the need to correct the existing office conditions for the environmental services staff. The governing board was provided a cost analysis during the staff budget presentations of a range of magnitude to construct the addition. Myself provided collaborative ROM pricing in the amount of $150,000 for the budget approval. The ROM included a $265 per square foot building cost, architectural fees, and Maricopa County permitting assumptions. Due to current long lead times for materials and weekly steel pricing changes, our qualified and low bid from KVM Construction includes language for steel roofing system and some materials requiring pre-construction orders of materials to hold pricing. The amount of $18,063 has been invested to date from approved project funds for the creation of the delivery of architectural engineered plans, county approved pre-application process, the Arizona Fire and Medical Association plan review and permits, along with Maricopa County plan review and permitting fees. And in conclusion, this bid's received from KVM Construction and others confirms construction costs have increased considerably over the last 2 years. Professional inquiries and responses to this dilemma have only been answered with no change in sight in the near future, cannot provide trades for this size project. We declined to provide bids due to lack of materials and owners' reluctance to accept current pricing. These conditions of the Environmental Service Office continue to worsen and require improvement. The additional funds required to finalize a Rec Center Sun City West Builder Agreement are being recommended for approval so that these renovations and capital project can begin as soon as possible. All county planning and development and Arizona Fire Medical Authority requirements have been met. The necessary construction plans are approved and permits are ready for pickup. We are requesting the general manager is requesting additional funds from savings obtained in the capital improvement accounts in the amount of $107,828 to secure the agreement with the general contractor. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Questions and discussion from the board?
I have a couple questions.
All right, Jim.
Remind us all where this is happening. What area of town is that happening?
So between our social hall building and Fry's, we have the environmental services maintenance yard.
Right.
Currently, the staff is housed in a enclosed little compound right next to the loading docks on the east end of the social hall. And that building is basically an old freezer box. It's dilapidated. It does not, it leaks and has varmints living in it, and we can't fix the situation. So also these men and women that work in that department, they do not have a bathroom in that area, so they always go to the social hall. This new office allows them to, one, have a professional environment, clean, healthy, with an access directly through a door to the restroom system.
One more, I have a follow-up. So this is something that we've been working on for a number of years.
2 years.
There was issues with some environmental stuff, as I recall.
The issues were how to solve this situation. So originally we had thought about how would a professional construction office look on site like they do on job sites. Staff felt that would be acceptable, but due to our sewers, the location of our on-site utilities, there was no way to hook up a bathroom, and that is a requirement of the state of Arizona. And the state of Arizona is pretty darn strict on temporary storage trailer offices used for long-term use.
So how did you solve the sewer problem?
The social hall is an acceptable bathroom system for that amount of staff.
Okay. Sounds good. And the other question I have is that KVM has done quite a bit of work for us over the years.
I'd like to clarify that KVM is a relatively new vendor to our system. Okay. They have been in business for a while. They are a relationship of what you might be referencing as KLM.
Okay.
It is the next generation of that family.
Okay, same family though.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Harry.
Carl, one of the questions I got is, I realize costs and everything has went up a lot. How many more projects of 21, 22 are we going to have the same issue with?
Well, right now, we just recently approved the Beardsley Greenhouse. That project went over budget within the general manager's signing authority and within the realms of our savings, again, by the CFO. I am currently working on pre-pricing some of the projects. We have approximately 10 projects left, and 4 of them I would consider our majors. A lot of discussion happening right now, and to make sure that we're set good for the rest of the year. There's no guarantee that they're not going to go over budget. I'm trying to vet that out as we speak.
Thank you.
Other questions? Ann?
Just a comment, and it's just a thought that came to me, but I'm wondering in the future if we should maybe rank these projects, so if we do go over, there may be something that doesn't get done if we have too many overages with this type of thing going on. This is a 70% overage, which is substantial. And it's just very concerning that we may have this with other things.
Carl, am I correct in understanding that we had budgeted $150,000 and now the project's going to cost $257,000?
I don't, is that total on the sheet?
That's
I don't have it.
That's adding 107 to 150.
CFO says that's correct.
Okay. So it is a considerable jump. Yes, and so, Ann, your question is, I guess, on target in terms of how many more projects are we going to have the same problem with, and is this our top priority?
So
How would we do that?
a comment to how many projects we have left. The scope of our remaining projects are not the size of the scope of this. Maybe the Beardsley enclosure would be the last of our projects for the budget season that potentially has the opportunity of going over budget. But otherwise, the other ones are decor, painting, and I'm deep enough into my vetting that I'm feeling pretty comfortable about that. So Beardsley enclosure at the lobby aquatics is the only one that I would assume might be having a discussion of some sort.
And I think that was about 160, is that correct?
That's correct. Does not require, though, the elements of disciplines that this building, this is only a 500 square foot building as well, but the materials related for the enclosure are interior room remodeling pieces, which I have not found to date to be unavailable or overly increased in price. So it might come down to just what the vendor's labor currently is or availability and subcontractor base. I don't know. The other question, Ann, that you posed about listing or putting a priority on projects, it's difficult because I base the schedule timeline that best serves the community and our needs. So sometimes your number 10 might be one of the first ones out of the gate just because it's the best time to do it in the year. So that's very difficult. What we have done in the past, though, when we've approached this conversation is if we don't have the funds at the end of the year and we have projects left, then that is open for discussion to be put on hold. So we always take that approach.
Other questions from directors? So I understand this. This is an additional $107,000, but not necessarily. We don't necessarily have that saved from the other projects coming in less than that.
No, this is we are coming to you today with actual savings.
Okay,
To
so
date.
this is not an additional, but you've had savings in other projects that then allows you to be able to use this for that
That
project.
is correct.
Okay, all right, so that's clarified. Anything else? Lisa?
So Carl, say we go over on the Beardsley enclosure, and nobody knows that if that's going to happen or not, but if we do, will we have additional savings left over for that, or are we going to have to dig into?
I'm not sure what the balance of additional savings is, but
Okay.
if the general manager were making a dollar value up to $50,000 in approval for additional funds for a project, and we had that savings, then you wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't be coming up here asking for a facts and findings. So,
Right.
so if we did not have the funds, you would definitely I'd be here with the facts and findings.
Right, and then the project before where you did need additional funds, but it was under the 50,000. What project was that?
That would be the Beardsley Greenhouse.
The greenhouse, and what was the amount on that?
That would be $42,000.
Great, thank you.
Okay, other questions, comments? Okay, comments or questions from the audience? Come on up to the microphone.
One 120 Lynn Kellis. I just wanted to make a comment on what I'm hearing overall, and I know that things are very expensive. I personally just added on at my house, and during that time that we first priced items out, materials out, significant growth in price there. So I think knowing that this project sounds like something that's critical to our community and to the rec center, I would just like to say I hope that you consider doing it. I think he's going to need the funds if we if we wait longer to do this, it's going to cost more. And next, regarding the Beardsley project, that project is needed badly. We just had another theft yesterday. We walked in to find that our generator had been stolen because people are able to jump over that wall. And a couple of locks had been broken off a cabinet that holds several $1,000s worth of merchandise for us. Luckily, they didn't take it. They didn't know what the glazes were, so they're fine and we've resecured things. But I just would ask that you understand that I know it's going to be expensive and costs are going to rise. Things aren't getting cheaper right now anywhere. To just please consider what he needs because we all need it.
Thank you. Bill? Carl, you want to add something?
Can I make a
before-
point of clarification
Sure,
before the
yes.
next speaker?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for your comments. My comment about the Beardsley Greenhouse is not in any reference to what I'm not aware of that happened as far as a theft or break-in. So the two projects are different at Beardsley. Just want to make that a point of reference. I think what we're referencing here is the Clay Club.
Yes, we're
The Clay
referencing
Club.
the security.
I have a project in the next budget proposed for approval for security of that wall system.
Right, but that's in
Okay.
next year's
That is correct.
budget. Okay. Go ahead.
Bill Weaver. Comment, my son is in remodeling based in the Scottsdale area. The types of subcontractors he uses a lot are drywall, painting, some minor construction, things like that. His costs have gone up significantly. There's a significant labor shortage out there for subcontractors in all of these fields. He will find some, they contract with him, they often don't show up because there's another job that might pay more. So there's a lot of stuff going on, I would say, in the underground in construction and remodeling these days. And so his costs have been going up too. I would say his costs have gone up in the last 6 months, 30% easily. And so it's a real difficult thing. He's typically used to always be on time with his work, but with the work with subs these days, nothing comes in on time. And there's also the supply chain enters into this problem. So I would say, get this one done, get it done as you can, and be aware that there will be some more future problems.
Okay, thank you. Okay, board, are you ready to go to vote?
Yes.
Okay, Roberta, would you read the motion again, please?
I have to find it again. I move that the governing board approve the facts and findings request for additional funds from the savings obtained in the capital improvement accounts in the amount of $107,828 to secure the agreement with the general contractor, material availability, and cost of materials.
I'll second.
Okay, it's already been, we already have a second. We just, I just wanted her to repeat that so we were clear about what we were voting on. So if you're, please indicate your vote. Roberta?
Aye.
Yes.
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 Okay, it's unanimous. Now we'll move on to the next item.
So if I may, I just want to
oh,
personally thank everyone here for that support. And I know, speaking for Todd, yes, Eduardo and his team, yes. Long overdue, and thank you all very, very much.
Yeah, it is definitely needed. We know that that's been brought before us a number of times, so. Okay, the next item is approval of the Charter Club's RR&P revisions, and this is one section, the independent contractors section. So, Donna, do you have a motion?
Yes, Madam President. I move that the governing board approve revisions to the contract segment of the Charter Club's RR&Ps as redlined.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ann, thank you. Okay,
So-
discussion, Donna, go ahead.
Yes, the first item is under, this is under contracts, and A, under examples of contract services, it's recommended that we add or technical service, and also to include a link that directs to irs.gov for definition of independent contractor and for the, to be attached to the appendix. That's the first item. Next item under B is to change verbiage to, instead of forwarded to the Recreation Activities Manager, to be approved by the Recreation Activities Manager. And then under B, item number 3, to change the language to read, charter clubs may provide payments to club members, excluding club officers, providing those payments are reasonable compensation for performing necessary services when another qualified volunteer cannot be secured per club bylaws. And then we add another letter, and that letter would be a letter C, and the language would read, charter clubs may not have employees, and adding another letter, which would be a D, would state club leadership determines qualifications for contractors, identifies parameters of service, length of time, cost of service, and individual or group chosen per club bylaws. Thank you.
Okay, discussion. Roberta.
I have an issue where it says charter clubs may provide payments to club members, excluding club officers, providing those payments, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes on down on C and says charter clubs may not have employees. That section about paying club members, you are paying an employee because you're not saying they have to have an independent contractor agreement. So you're basically setting up an employee relationship. And if you're going to do an employee relationship, then you have to have a workman's comp provision. Under an independent contractor, you do not.
I believe, Roberta, under A, it says an individual or group of individuals who are paid by a club to perform services must be engaged by written contract.
But it's not in this section, and it appears that this person is an employee. So you're contradicting yourself. So either you put in there that they provide payments to club members with through an independent contractor agreement, which we already have, or you don't pay them. I still have a real issue of paying club members.
So your recommendation is charter clubs, this is under number 3, under B. Charter clubs may provide payments to club members with an independent contractor agreement.
Right. Or through an independent contractor agreement. But technically, I'm opposed to club members being paid.
Okay, we have somebody from the audience who wants to speak, or are we done here? Okay. Oh, directors? Okay, wait until we get done with director comments. Director, who wants to talk? Lisa?
I'm just curious, is there a reason we can't let the independent contractors, does the money have to be funneled through the clubs? Can the people taking, the members in the club taking the classes, can they pay the independent contractors directly? Does the money have to be funneled through the clubs?
Harry, do you want to answer that? It's a question I asked of Harry a while ago.
That question, I don't know, because you got the substance versus form of a contract. And if the club members are paying it, and it's part of the agreement through the club, it opens the door that they'll say the substance of the contract is that the club made the payment. They don't care what the form is. You can play with all the forms and documents you want, but the substance of the contract is that they're making that payment.
Jim?
Madam President, doesn't that also violate our concept, which is my problem, of a member making a profit in our clubs? It is not appropriate for a 501c7 social club to have someone making a profit in there for a profit. That doesn't work. I have a problem with paying chartered club members to teach for that reason. And then also, I think that we pride ourselves as a community in being a community of volunteers, where we don't have to pay a member to teach to get quality teaching. There are numbers of clubs that use non-paid members to teach, and the quality is exceptional and continues to be exceptional without paying them. So I absolutely disagree with this. I think it's a wrong move for our community and for our clubs.
I might just add that that's the reason that the two words, reasonable compensation, which comes from the IRS, is in there so that we're not having people make a profit. But there isn't any control over that issue, and I
Correct.
understand totally. Ann?
Well, my concern, echoing off of what Jim said, is we are a volunteer community. If people see that they can be compensated, they may think, well, why should I be volunteering my time when I can get compensated, even if it's a little bit for it, Help me buy more yarn or clay or whatever people want to do. And I think it will be a deterrent to volunteering.
Anybody else? Sharon?
Tim, do you have the bylaw, the 501c7 up as far as what it says?
I'm
About
looking for it now, but I'm not finding anything that says anything about paying members.
I believe you read at the last meeting that no one can be paid that's in a 501c7.
I'm not finding it now, though. But I would like to see what the bylaws of the clubs actually say, because I know that in the Deer Valley Men's Club, it says no member can receive compensation.
Right.
So I just wonder if the other bylaws, club bylaws, say that too.
I don't think there's a uniform in my experience. Casey would probably know more than we do about it. I don't think there's a uniform in the club's bylaws. But I'd say one more thing on this is this is akin in my mind to us allowing mass production for profit in our clubs, and that happens regularly as well. And that needs to be addressed by this body to give staff direction to handle this. That's a policy decision. This is a policy decision for enforcement by staff. So clubs should not be a profit center for members to come in and make money. And some members are making thousands of dollars, folks. This is big money for a lot of people. I happen to know that several people need this money to even live in Sun City West. That doesn't make any sense to me either, because we know that you have to have money to live in Sun City West.
I would just add that this is a limited, very limited number of clubs that are in this situation. Harry?
I have approached Bill with a letter and asked for some guidance from our attorneys, which we haven't got yet. I think we're pushing this thing too fast. I think till we get the answers back from the attorneys, all of this could be a very moot point, and what we're looking at is the IRS has come out and said we're not issuing any new items under C4. Well, and that's done because of our political organizations. They figured out how to get through C4, and they could put 100 organizations in C4 and scam the system for political purposes. That's not the purpose of our C4 organization. So my question was, can we take our existing C4 and bring the clubs that have a problem under the auspices of the C4 as like a subsidiary? So they would still be a club, but their tax returns would be filed with Sun City West as part of the C4, just like the golf organizations are, just like the bowling clubs are. And at the meeting we had with Sun City Grand, all of their clubs in Sun City Grand are under the one C4. So that there is history of that. There are rules there for that, but it's going to create more accounting work for Sun City West. But if we've got 60, 65 C7s, Boomers Club, Zemergy Club, and you can go on, that don't have the problem, we leave these alone so they do their own thing just like they're doing it today, but we take care of the clubs that need some help and come up with is it going to cost the clubs more money? Yes, because if it's got to be an employee, there's going to be payroll taxes, there's going to be unemployment insurance, there's going to be workman's comp, there's going to be all of the other rules that go with it. And the clubs are going to have to reimburse Sun City West for those costs. But there could be a solution. And the other thing would be that if a club doesn't want to go through that, then go do your own thing, but it might be in a lot of trouble. Thank you.
Okay, other comments? Sharon?
There are specific rules about whether or not you can be a contract employee, and I know this because I sit on a board of a 501c3, and we just went through this again. If you have the minute you give someone a schedule of what they are supposed to be doing at the same time in a community, anywhere, you are now making them an employee. We had to change all of our drivers for us, even the one that came in on Thursday for 2 hours can no longer be a contract employee. They have to be an employee with regular employee. They cannot be under a contract because it's a schedule. And that was changed about 2.5 to 3 years ago, written completely so that people understood what a contract employee was versus a regular employee. And I've asked the same question. I think we need to have both a tax attorney and the regular attorney talk together and tell us what can and can't be done. Because I don't believe a 501c7, I agree with Harry completely. There are 501c7s who don't have this problem at all, and there isn't a problem with doing this. But the others that do have a problem, we need to look at taking care of them in a different way. We don't have to have all 98 clubs under the 501c4, but we do need to do something to fix the problem for them.
Okay, other comments from directors? Roberta?
Well, I just have one other comment on item B, where it says must be signed by the contractor and club president, which is what we've always done. I don't know why it has to be approved by the recreation manager. Because in the past, we've had them signed, and then like for bands, and then we just forward the contract to the rec's general manager or to the rec manager.
Okay,
and
just a
that's it.
comment about that. The whole time I was Boomer president, we sent them and they had to be signed and approved by.
No, this is new that's being added. It says forwarded.
Yes, they
and
always
it's
had to be
been
approved.
forwarded.
Well, I'm just telling you, in my tenure, they had to be approved. I had to get a signature from Cindy Knowlton after I submitted that.
Never happened.
Not
Not
during
when I
your
was
tenure. Well,
president.
during mine, that's what happened. So,
Okay.
so basically it has been approved by,
No. Wasn't in the RR&Ps that had to be approved by them.
okay, Cliff, did you want to help with some clarification?
Yes, please. Cliff Swan, accounting manager at the rec centers. Okay, so regarding the independent contractors and regarding club members being paid as independent contractors, the IRS does give flexibility there where club members can be paid with club funds. There is some flexibility there. We vetted that. I believe we did vet that with the attorney, Bill, but I found it in the IRS online that you can do it. It provides, it just says it has to be reasonable, it has to be something that the club approves, things like that. So there is some flexibility there. We're only talking about a handful of clubs that do this, and we want to give them some flexibility so that if they can't find someone, an independent contractor, outside of their club to do this, it gives them some flexibility to do it. The reason why we have the rec center activity manager review those is so that Casey can put her eyeball on it just to make sure and vet it to make sure that someone isn't doing it for the sole purpose of personally profiting. So that's why we have that approval process as well, so that we can verify that this isn't someone just doing this to make money and line their pockets. And part of that process, when Casey looks at it, she'll determine whether this is something that she'll ask those questions. Hey, why are you using this person? Oh, well, we're using this person because they only charge us, time and materials at, $10 an hour versus if we went outside, the club members would have to pay $120 an hour to get someone like this. So we're trying to give the clubs some flexibility. When we talked to the clubs at the Charter Club committee about this, they were pretty adamant, like, hey, we want some flexibility here. And if we're allowed to do it, we're separate entities. Let us take on this responsibility and let us do it. Don't control us to a point where we can't do this because some of us need this. So that's why those provisions are in there currently. And it's been going on for decades from what I understand. So it's currently happening. There's nothing illegal with it. Now, it is their responsibility to determine if they're employing someone versus it's an independent contractor agreement. But that is their responsibility.
I would take umbrage with you on this.
Jim, you want to talk?
Madam President, may I speak?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm sorry. What you just said doesn't make any sense to me because they're a private entity except for the fact that we own the property, we own the equipment, we tell them when they can open, when they can't close, and all those other things. We control every part of a club until we get to this, and then we say, you're on your own. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you let a club do something that's possibly very libelous to the club and to Sun City West, because we're all going to get caught up in this stuff? So what you're saying is absolutely not correct, and I disagree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay. It's not a matter of being correct or incorrect. It's your opinion, and I understand that.
Well, it's your opinion, too, what you're saying,
Okay, yes.
because we're letting these clubs hang out there with no direction on how to handle a 501c7 properly. And it's a social club. It is not meant to be a profit center. And you're allowing that to happen by what you're saying because they're on their own. They face the consequences. You just said that. And that's not the right way to approach it because you're in charge of the controlling process here and you're not allowing that.
Yeah, let me be clear. What I say they're on their own about is whether the person is an employee or an independent contractor. That's what I'm saying they're on their own about.
I'm saying they shouldn't be either one.
Okay.
Okay, the general manager would like to speak.
Thank you. This isn't easy, right? But in dealing with our tax auditors and our attorneys, and in trying to get over this hump and deal with what's been going on for a very long time and trying to put some clarity into that, when it comes to independent contracting, again, of the 90 or 100 clubs that we have, it really doesn't come into play. However, There are clubs that do contract with people that provide dance calling that are not club members, right? They're outside members that come in and provide that service that non-members don't, but perhaps a member of a club could someday if they couldn't find somebody to provide that service needed for them. It is allowable in the world of the IRS to do something like that. That's what we're trying to that's what we're trying to understand. Now, when it comes to certain clubs that want to teach someone how to use a kiln or how to use a lathe or something along those lines, yeah, could volunteers do it? Absolutely. But sometimes not. And they would rather have someone professionally train these people so they don't get hurt. And I think the difference really between the independent contractor and employee that the IRS lays claim to is the duration of the event. When you're an employee and you get hired, it is an ongoing contract, right? You're not employed for 6 weeks, right? Those are what independent contracts do. And so there's a time frame that has to be adhered to, which is one of the things that the recreation activities manager would look at in these types of things. As this, you're not going to do a contract for a 5-year long-term scenario. It's typically to provide a service. We're going to contract you to come in here, teach us something, and go, right? So there's a time frame in there, and that's what the IRS is looking at, just for clarification on the employee versus independent contractor scenario. Thank you.
Okay, Casey, or Lisa, you want to go first?
Could I say one more thing, Madam President, please, before, just to answer what's being said? Well, this has been said twice, that this has been going on for decades. Okay, so was the village store. So, and that didn't have any problem shutting that down right now. So, I mean, this is stuff that needs to stop. This is not something that is appropriate. And it's been going on for decades. It's not an excuse to not stop this.
Okay, Lisa, and then Tim.
Okay, so in response to, I guess, I'm not sure if it's to Bill or to Cliff, but regarding this, the independent contractor, there are a couple things when you discuss the IRS training, and I know we talked about this in our meeting, and when you turn around and you give an independent contractor description, and then you say, for example, with a couple of clubs, and your intro to club, intro to copper, enamel, and glass arts, whatever it is these clubs are doing. When you give these instructors specific training parameters, and you're giving them binders and whatnot, now you have labeled them, and you're telling them, this is what you're going to teach, and you have made them employees. The IRS, that's how the IRS sees it, right here. And we can't just, Cliff, we can't turn our backs on the club. I'm not willing to I want to support the clubs, and I want to let them be able to teach, and I want the clubs to succeed, but I want to do it right. And I want to support them, and I don't want to just turn my back on them and say, do whatever you want, it's not on us. It's not our fault if you get caught or whatever. That doesn't work that way. The other one is, must the worker give you reports accounting for his or her actions? This may show a lack of independence. And some of these clubs, they have to say, did this person pass on the kiln? Yes, if they did, now they're showing that they passed all this. Right here, it's in black and white. We can't just turn our backs and say, go ahead and do this.
Tim?
Thank you. With the exception of Harry, none of us up here are tax experts, and I would hate to put the onus on Harry to make the decision for this. What I would suggest is that we get a lawyer's written opinion, because it seems to me that there's 3 issues here. It's where the clubs have independent contractors. I think that's fairly clear that they can. The rub comes in when the contractors are club members, right? The further rub comes in when they're club officers, and I think that's what we need an explanation of before we proceed any further, because this has gone on a long time. We need something from the lawyer that tells us where to go.
Okay, Lisa has asked for the floor.
Thank you, Tim, you reminded me. That's why I kept asking if, I mean, I would have no problem saying yes to moving forward with this if a tax expert said to me, yes, you are 100% in the clear, go forward with this.
Okay. Do you want to say something? Cliff?
I don't know that you'll ever get that. I don't know that a tax attorney is gonna, what I'm saying is, a tax attorney's not going to give a blanket statement for every club, for every relationship that they have with every person that they pay. So there are general guidelines. They're on the IRS website.
My experience with attorneys is you don't ask them what you can do. You ask them, I'm going to do this, is it okay?
Yeah.
All right? So we posed the question to them, can club members be independent contractors? One. Can club officers be independent contractors and be paid by the club? That's the question you ask, not what should we do?
Yes, I agree, yes. I agree, but they're gonna say, based on the rules and regulations of the state and IRS, they can be. That's what they'll say, but they're not going to give a blanket statement that we put in an RR&P that says, yes, you can, or no, you can't. It's gonna be, yes, you can if. Okay, so, and that's what we have. Yes, you can if. That's what we have in there right now. That's what we're proposing.
Okay, I accept your comments, but I would like a reference to the IRS that what you're citing.
Yes,
Just so that
we
we
can,
can look it up.
absolutely, we can do that, for sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, and I believe that we have verbally talked to the attorney about this whole issue.
Yes, we have.
And gotten the go-ahead, so we're asking for something we already have. That this language is adequate.
Madam President,
It's my understanding.
Madam President,
Lisa?
the documentation that I was shown, that you asked me to go in search of, that I was shown, did not suffice. It did not satisfy the directors that I talked with. It was in our verbiage, and it was merely the attorney saying, yes, go ahead, you can do that. So I think it was the opinion of the board that the board wants to talk verbally with. So.
There are ways to handle that. We've talked about that. Casey, did you want to say something?
My voice doesn't carry too well, so I have to, put my mask down. But I'm gonna speak on my behalf of the support of the clubs. I sat with Lynn from the Clay Club, who's the current president. I had her do a breakdown of what she asks the members who are paid versus the non-members who are paid, and it's substantially different. It came down to $2.88 an hour, and I did share that with a couple of you when we met. I just want, when it comes to reasonable, as a lot of these contracts are coming through right now, I go through every single one of them. I truly do. Lisa will tell you that I questioned one to one of the presidents. If I feel it's too high and not reasonable for the club to pay that price, it's questioned. And that's where I am standing for the opportunity for about 5 or 6 clubs that this does affect.
Madam President.
Jim?
Casey, how much money does the club receive from all these classes? We know that the teachers are receiving money. The club should be getting some money back from this, correct? Because of their using the club's facilities, club's equipment, all of that sort of thing?
Yes, and part of her breakdown did have equipment and supplies in that. So I only asked Clay to do that for me. I've not asked the other clubs to do that, so I can't answer that. But she did have included some line items for equipment and supplies that were necessary for those trainings.
Yeah, the club's the club seems to me that the club should be, if this is happening, should be having some sort of a percentage coming to them, as it used to be with the village store, which has been lost by clubs as well. So there is a diminished income source there.
So, Jim, I can tell you that at Art Club, as an example, you pay $17 to take a half-day class, and 15 of that 17 goes to the person. So there is an amount.
And
that
most of
stays
these
with the
are
club,
3 and
just
4 hour
dancing.
classes.
Excuse me?
These are 3 and 4 hour classes that are being put on by one individual on a usually
Right.
5 to 6 week basis once a week, right? Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and that, yeah, that varies if it's a day-long workshop or whatever. Tim?
I would just like clarification, okay?
Okay.
The paragraph, charter clubs may provide payments to club members excluding club officers, provided those payments are reasonable compensation for performing necessary services when another volunteer cannot be secured. Has this paragraph specifically been put to the lawyer, and he approved this wording? Okay, all right. Accepting that, my question is, why exclude club officers? What was the rationale for that?
That was the board, I think. That was, we were,
I think from a policy decision, Tim, that came down a little bit of conflict of interest,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
If
I think that.
if the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer are kind of paying themselves and whatnot, they kind of want to stay away from that.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Okay, Sharon?
I still think that one of the things that I would like to see us do is, as Harry said, we have the information about the 501c4 that would affect this. So why are we trying to squeeze somebody into something that may or may not fit? When in fact, if you put them under the 501c4 as a possibility, why aren't we looking at that first before we start doing this?
My answer would be that we want to get this resolved for all of our clubs. So if we were to approve this, it doesn't preclude us from taking those that have an issue with it, Sharon, and considering another option for those few that this doesn't fit well with. And we could continue to do that. I mean, that's, Bill?
Yeah, and I just want to add, Sharon, it's kind of a timing thing. I think Harry will attest. There are clubs out there that have contemplated their future, right? As far as social club or a 501c4 or a 501c3, and sub-clubs have opted to potentially go C3. Well, that is, you want to call it a waiting game here? It's a long process as we sit here today. So for us to just do nothing until the government decides to take the mandate off group collections of clubs under one potential blanket umbrella, similar to Sun City Grand and Sun City, we have no idea when that's going to be lifted. So with that in mind, we are doing the best to do what we can now, moving forward and doing what's responsible, I think, and right, giving the unknown as far as how long this is going to be. Because as we sit here right now, anyone applying for a C3 or any other kind of change is a long, long wait.
Sharon?
Then my whole reason for this is the fact that I don't want us to do something that's incorrect. We just are trying to get out of one mess that we've already had that's incorrect. So telling people that it's okay to go and do this without actually having it be okay is not what we should be doing. It's wait. You have to wait until you've got it right. I don't think giving the clubs the priority, like Jim said, of just go ahead and do it is the right thing to do. I don't agree.
Other comments from the board?
May I-
Donna?
I was wondering if we could just do an edit that said charter clubs may provide payments to club members within independent contractor agreement complying with IRS rules, excluding club officers and continuing with that.
Okay, say again your sentence insertion, your phrase that you want to insert.
Charter clubs may provide payments to club members with an independent contractor agreement complying with IRS rules. And then continuing with excluding club officers providing those payments are reasonable.
Directors, what do you think about that? Were you listening?
We're still in the same thing.
Okay.
We're still in the same line. We're still letting you.
Okay.
We're
So
still doing the
it
same.
appears that we have an opinion up here on the board that we don't want to pay for any club members to be doing anything. Is that what I'm hearing? Am I hearing that correctly or not?
Okay, I'm simply
No.
saying I don't want to pay for them under a 501c7. I want to have it
Oh,
done
okay.
legally. I don't think this is the right way to do it.
Okay.
Because it specifically states no one should be paid.
Yes,
So-
it's not illegal to do it. We've already verified that. No, we verified it. We'll get it from the attorney. He's already looked at it. We'll show you the documentation. We'll even pose the question exactly how you want it, on whether, like Tim said, on whether club members can be paid within. That's totally, and we feel really good about that in terms of, we feel like we vetted that. Now, the question on whether they're considered an employee or an independent contractor, that's the question at hand. That can't be answered by anyone because they're going to refer that person to the IRS rules and regulations. And that's how it's defined. Okay, so that's what we're trying to say here. That's why we say that you can.
Lisa.
We say that you can, but it's up to you as your own entity to determine whether that person would be considered an independent contractor. That's what we're saying.
Okay, directors,
Madam
other
President,
comments?
Can I make one other comment?
Yes, Tim?
Since I reviewed L12, review of legal records, this brings up a point that I need clarification on. When you talk to general manager, when you talk to the attorney on the phone and ask for opinion, is there a written record kept of that?
Yes, sir. We don't typically go by telephone anymore. We make sure everything's in email, so we do have a copy.
Okay, so we can't see the email when he came back and discussed what it was?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I had I apologize, Jim and I had a little bit of a sidebar, but you know, this like I said, this can get very, very confusing. Let me just throw a scenario out there and just kind of cloud your coffee up a little bit more. The Boomers, for instance, they want to hire a band to play, right? And they have a concert or use a social hall and they have a wonderful evening and whatnot, and they pay for a band. And what happens if that band just happens to be all club members? Right? Can't do that. Are they employees? Nope. Are they playing every Saturday? Are they playing every Wednesday and Saturday? Nope. They have a contract for a period of time. But they're told what time the building's open. They're told what time to set up. They're told what time to play, and they're told what time this building closes. And so they are independent contractors. And so it is defined employee-wise by length of service that you are trying to get a service accomplished, whether it's teaching a class, showing someone how to paint, how to use a kiln or a lathe or something like that. It's a very short window scenario, whereas employees are extended over time. Correct. But anyway, so there's some clarification there. So independent contracts happen all the time. And it is the IRS's opinion and our tax attorney's opinion that, in fact, they are legal. It is allowable under a 501c7. So we've proven that, and I'm sorry we don't have that legal document in front of you today, but we can show that. So I think what I'm hearing here today is, from a policy decision, it doesn't seem like the governing board is happy with having clubs pay their members.
Harry?
And with what Bill's saying, the thing is I agree with Bill, if you got a club member, like he said, the Boomers Club, and they have members, their own members has a band, and they play, yes, they can be independent contractors, but one of the things they look at, are they going out and playing for other clubs? Do they do this somewhere else? If they only do it for the Boomers Club, because there are 4 items that you've got to do in order, and that's if you stay with the same place and the same person, you're probably going to be an employee. If the Boomers Club was the only place they played, you've got a problem. But it's if they go out to other areas and do other things, play for the Zimmergy Club, play for the rec center, it's a whole different animal, and I agree totally. Then they are independent contractors, even though they are members of the club. If somebody was teaching a class, and they taught the class here in Sun City West, they taught the class in Grand, they taught the class over in Sun City, they would be independent contractors. Like the guy, whatever his name is, that come in and does dancing, he's doing that at all the different communities. He's an independent contractor, no question about it. But it's when you do it with your members in the same organization and don't do it anywhere else is where you got your problem.
Okay. Is there a
Harry, I
hand
tried
over
to
on the
keep you
other
off the
side?
hook.
Was there a hand on this other side? Somebody wanted to talk? You're done? Okay. Casey?
So is there a band within the Boomers that just plays for the Boomers and not elsewhere?
No.
No? Okay.
No, and, oh, may I talk?
Lisa?
Thank you. And on that note, the Boomers has a limit. The band can only play twice if they are residents in a year.
Mm-hmm. And for members, for craft clubs, because this is really what this is affecting is craft clubs.
That's right.
Do they, I know the answer, but do they have multiple classes throughout the year? And it's a safety issue, right? It's a training guide, okay? I would assume that stands forth for art as well, at the beginning. Weavers has got some delicate items in there, right?
Right.
So it does take an expert to be able to train new people to come in and use those items. And I understand where you guys are coming from, but if we can get documentation from our attorney that will okay this, we are absolutely going to hurt our clubs.
Madam President, please.
Jim?
May I just respond to what you're saying? So what you're saying is that you have to pay somebody who might be an expert to perform a function in a club is nonsense.
Trained.
Because there's clubs out here that don't use paid anything and have very high levels of expertise that give of themselves to do the right thing. That's what we're talking about. That's the whole, in my mind, that's why I'm
Agreed.
arguing.
And wood shop and metal shop goes through a long, lengthy years of understanding the equipment there, right?
Correct. There's training process that goes through, and there's 15 volunteers, including in an orientation process that goes on. Those kinds of things happen. And those are all volunteers.
I understand. So this is what is all I'm doing is I am up here and I am defending these 5 to 6 clubs, Jim. And I will be very, very honest about that because I don't know how else not to be. If these few clubs lose their members who are instructors, they will struggle with their membership. And that is the last thing that we want to see. At least that is what has been presented to me from the few clubs that I've spoke with.
So it's possible that we could do something with just these 5 clubs and try to resolve something, and that this language would be okay for the rest of the clubs? Is that what I'm hearing up here or not? Well, I just asked the question if you were you were wanting to not have anybody paid, and you said, no, that's not right. So help me understand where the board stands now.
Go ahead.
Ann?
The board. Well, I just keep coming back to this thing about our clubs, our social clubs. We do this for volunteers, and I think we're just going to denigrate the desire for people to volunteer, and I don't want to see clubs hold us hostage, saying that we're not going to be able to make this if we can't pay our club members. But I'm right now I'm just opposed to this. from what I'm hearing.
Sorry, Ann. Anybody else want to talk? Sharon?
I agree with Ann.
Where do the rest of you stand? Roberta?
I'm not supporting this.
Tim?
Not supporting what?
Yeah.
The language.
Yeah, be
as
more-
it-
But-
The language as it's currently written.
And what about the concept?
No, I don't want to pay club members
Okay.
unless it's an independent contractor agreement.
So currently, the people that are paid in these 5 clubs or whatever it is do not go through the independent contractor form. Is that correct, Casey? Yeah. Okay, they're just paid directly through the club. Okay, okay, so it varies? They fill out the contract form. Okay,
Yes, and then they get paid through the club.
yes, okay, so Roberta, they are filling out the independent contractor contract form.
Right, but your language does not say that.
Okay, so your issue is not it's the process of adding that
You're
into,
saying chartered clubs may provide payments to club members excluding club officers.
and if you said via the independent contractor
Well,
process,
that should be added to it because it's not clear.
okay, so then that would be satisfactory to you?
Well, if that was added, but I still have an issue with club members getting paid.
Yeah, okay. Tim, where are you standing?
Oh, man. I see the benefit of having club members teach certain skills that they might have. But I do think we should strike club members and say independent contractors, because there's a specific IRS definition to independent contractors. And that puts it in a whole different category because there's tax implications and all the other stuff. So I would just exclude club members and club officers and just say independent contractors.
So are you talking about in the bottom of letter B?
3.
No, I'm talking about in the paragraph I mentioned before, the one that Roberta just
Yeah.
read.
Okay. If we put independent contractor in that, you'd be satisfied? Okay. Lisa, where do you stand?
I'm not going to support it until I hear back from a tax attorney.
Okay. Ann?
I like the idea of taking out club members and saying chartered clubs may provide payments to an independent contractor with something about an agreement complying with the IRS rules. I do still think we probably need to firm up what the attorney has to say. But the
Okay.
way it's presented today, no, I don't support it.
Okay. Donna?
I like Tim's recommendation. Charter clubs may provide payments to independent contractors, and I agree, adding complying with IRS rules.
Okay. Jim?
No,
No to anything?
I do not think we should be paying club members, period. So
Okay.
that's broad answer.
Okay. Sharon?
Same. No.
Harry?
I'm going to be a no till I see documentation and talk to the attorneys.
Okay. So it appears that we should put this on hold again. Am I correct? Board, am I correct up here?
Yes.
Until, and so that would take us till the end of to the end of January. We can vote at the next meeting, because I would hope that we could get something from the attorneys?
I think we already have it. It's just, we'll
Okay, if we already have it, is it possible we can pass this based on the fact that we already have that?
apparently not. They want to see it, so.
You want to see it in writing, okay?
Can we postpone and go get the legal document
We-
and present it now? Just postpone the special meeting and get the document?
We can just do it at the end of the month.
And it's fine. That's fine.
I mean, does that, Casey?
Yeah, I mean, all it would do for me today is if this did pass was I get to give everybody a set of updated RR&Ps. That's not the case. So.
Well, you can give them the
just on page
updated with this
16.
exception.
Just
Mhm.
page 16, pretty much the whole page is
Right.
the one that's in
That-
limbo
that's in
question
limbo.
right now. So at this point, I'll just move forward with what I can because this is what it is at this point until we can find our documentation to
Mhm.
move forward.
Okay, so Sharon?
If we're going to get the information from the attorney, then I would like to have the explanation as far as what the word administrative in the 501c7 actually refers to, because I don't believe that you can use the word administrative for everything that's listed in this, as a contractor. I don't believe that
Okay,
covers
so,
it that
yes,
way.
that's
That's the only
the-
word that's used there. You can only have
Correct.
someone through an administrative, and if you look up the directions of it, or definition, the administrative word says relating to the running of a business or organization. It does not have, it doesn't say instructor, it doesn't say
It
teacher,
doesn't define.
It doesn't define.
So that would be the second question for the
Yes.
attorney. Are we okay with that? Donna?
I'm wondering if we shouldn't look at starting a policy addressing independent contractors, creating a policy on independent contractors.
Or a definition. Yeah, if we go to the link, it does give the definition. Right, exactly right. It is identified there. Yeah. Okay, any other comments from the board? Okay, audience?
Bill Weaver, 124087. I have just a question that may not even be relevant from a little bit different angle. And, because I thought this volunteering was just simple, irregular volunteering, and I thought, could a member suspend their membership to the club and then use Section A above? Why not just suspend membership? Can you suspend membership for 3 weeks to be a paid independent? I mean, now you're no longer a member, wouldn't be able to use the equipment, you would be out of the club, but is that a possibility? Then everything else becomes whatever. If it's just an irregular thing for, a week or two, or, a short term, it doesn't seem like it would be such a big deal to suspend a membership.
Yeah, and I don't know if the bylaws, if people have that written into their bylaws for any suspension of a membership, but it's another idea. Thank you. Okay.
Hi, Lynn Kellis, 129120. First off, I think there's a misunderstanding about what goes on and how it goes on in the clubs. First off, there is nobody who's getting rich in the club, nobody who's getting by on what they make from our club. So please certainly don't think that. When we teach our beginning class, well, first off, we have nothing to do when they're scheduled. The instructor, who is the contractor, does all of their own scheduling, all of their own prep work, everything. We do none of it. Several of our instructors do teach out at WHAM and a couple of other places. I don't think everybody does. Some of them aren't comfortable with it, but they are comfortable in our club. But in our beginning hand building, there are a number of safety precautions that they're learning. They're learning how to use our systems and, come in and check in and get themselves all signed up for things, and including how to sign up for other classes. So I guess what I want to say is, we do go out and we recruit other talent to come in and do the things that we don't have the ability to do. It's very expensive, but we do it. And what we have for inside instructors, we don't necessarily find out there very often. And if we do, it would cost us, well, we figured it was almost, I believe, $70 an hour average to have them come in. Where our instructors, a lot of our classes are free. Beginning hand building is not free, and we have several classes that run about $15 or $20 for the class. So I hope you realize that these people aren't getting rich. A lot of classes are 3 or 4 hours at a time other than beginning hand building. I appreciate what you've done here, and I hope that you'll consider just adding the verbiage that it is a contractor that comes in. And I thank you for your time. I think if you do look at the IRS pages, I think you'll be a lot more clear on what it does say, and there are conditions as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Julie Redland, 403-520. I think we're missing the point on why some of us even moved here. I moved here for the social clubs, but I also moved here because I wanted to learn how to be an artist. That is something I didn't have time to do while raising children. So I came here for that. And what I found is I joined the art club. The art club does do classes that I go to each week. That instructor provides me with the instruction that someone brand new to that type of media. It also provides the continuity in instruction. A volunteer is not going to provide me necessarily with that continuity. What if they want to go on vacation? Now I lost a week. When we have set classes each week, that instructor shows up, they have signed their contracts that they are going to be there to do the instruction. I don't think that is necessarily always going to be the case in a volunteer situation. I just think that you are not looking at the whole picture. Each club is different, and I think to make a blanket statement that there's a volunteer ready to take up everything that these instructors do is just ridiculous. In addition, you think that you're going to lose volunteers. Part of the reason we're losing volunteers in this community is not because of this, it's because there are still a lot of people here that work full-time and are working outside of this community. So I think that your focus is way too narrow on whether a person should be paid or not. They're paid minimal amount.
Thank you. Make sure you sign the form there. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. How do I handle that, parliamentary? Okay, so I can do that unilaterally. Okay, judging. Oh, without objection, I would like to postpone this item until our next our board meeting at the end of the month. And in the meantime, hopefully we will get the answers to the 2 questions we have from the attorney so that we can move this forward. And Casey, appreciate your patience with getting this, wanting to get this to the clubs, but at least it's just 1 page that isn't resolved yet at this point. Okay, any other comments? Audience has had a chance? Okay. Are there any director comments that you'd like to make? Harry? No. Other comments? Okay, seeing none. Bill, anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.